to another great episode. Did I say great? Well, I can say great because we got a man with us this evening that is so great within himself that any show that he's on can be called great. You know who that man is? Kevin Eastman,
And what is
co-creator,
of the Ninja?
co-creator of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's crazy to even be able to be close enough to that is to having the gentleman on the show. It's a beautiful thing. You know, we've met Kevin numerous times through the convention circuit in Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Great dude, always just, very few people are that cool to their fans. And I know that's something people would say, but that's real deal. Like Kevin is super cool to his fans. You know what I mean? Alexander Hawk, of course, he also a part of Heavy Metal, the graphic novel Heavy Metal, which the movies came from, animated movies came from, and stuff. But my God, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I can barely wrap my head around what's about to go down, who we're about to talk to, the magnitude of who we're about to talk to this evening, my friend. It's kind of a crazy deal. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I mean the thing is that as you can probably tell that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a huge thing for
Woo!
Matt and me in our childhood. I just I mean I remember always Saturday morning cartoons. I rushed down. I had to get my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in. Loved the cartoons, loved the movies, and loved the action figures, loved the games. I mean, heck, I even got some little things here that I still have from my childhood, like
Oh,
Mr. Rocksteady,
woo!
Bebop.
And
Heck
BB Boppin'?
yeah, I mean, heck, I was such a huge. I like collected all the little different side characters and all that. Ah, man. And also, okay, I even got the board game. Ooh, can you beat that?
I can't. I wish. Well, maybe do you have all the pieces?
See, I don't know. I haven't checked in. I haven't played this game since I was about yay high. So I hope I got all the pieces.
Kanye?
Huh?
You were as tall as Kanye West? He's a short
No, no,
guy.
no, yay high, yay.
Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
But yeah, I mean the fact is, I think both Matt and I have said numerous times on this show, on other shows,
Yeah.
that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is
There was in a half show.
turtle power. I mean, is one of those shows and characters that will always come back.
Forever.
Yeah, it's like
Forever.
Ghostbusters almost, and some others where
More so than Ghostbusters, I'd say.
okay, but still, I
Fair
mean,
enough. More so. Way more so than Ghostbusters. But
but
but I'm with you. I'm with you,
yeah,
yes. I
but
love
I mean,
both.
but I can see, I mean, they have a new, I mean, other than of course the Michael Bay movies, which we of course know came out a little while ago. They
I
got a new
appreciate
TV
them
series
both.
right now, right, Matt?
Every like 4 or 5 years, I think they make a new Ninja Turtles. Every generation of kids gets it, and that's a beautiful thing. The the newer one looks a little different, just like how the Michael Bay turtles look different. They were more like real. I don't know, real world, more real turtleish. I don't know. They look
Oh,
like
they
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 were.
they tried to get well, they gave them noses and they tried to make them, I guess, seem a little bit more anatomically correct, I guess, uh,
Yeah,
with the noses and stuff. Um,
yeah.
Also, another thing, I just have to plug this in here. Uh,
Please.
I picked up a DVD. I don't have it with me right now. Ninja Turtles versus Batman. I don't know if
Yeah, I
you've
have
seen it.
this. Yes,
Oh man, I gotta say,
classic.
it came out within, I don't know, the last 5 years or something like that, maybe even sooner than that. And it is such a guilty pleasure. Just having these characters in the same universe as Batman is great. I loved it.
Very
And I
cool
definitely
reenact.
say definitely check it out if you do end up stumbling across it.
They've been
But
doing a lot. I've been seeing a lot of that lately. They'll mash up Ghostbusters. I've seen He-Man mashed up with some stuff. I've seen a Thundercats He-Man mashup. You know what I mean? Some interesting stuff, but yeah, Ninja Turtles, dude, unbelievable stuff. My mind's boggled. If you told a 7-year-old Matthew Fisher, you'll be talking to one of the dudes that created the Ninja Turtles, he would go, would Matt Fisher actually make good in life? What the fuck's going on here? He'd be like, what's going on? Dreams come true or something for little Matty Fisher?
He'd be running around like a 2-year-old on a sugar high.
I know the first time I met Kevin and my nephew with me, and my nephew, it was one of the first people I seen my nephew kind of mark out about and get excited for, because like Ninja Turtles is like, it's so huge. And like I was telling Hawk earlier, it's like I never got into superheroes. Like Ninja Turtles were like my superheroes, my Superman and such. You know what I mean? And they were like superheroes, but not superheroes. It was a weird line. You know what I mean? They're mutants. They're more like X-Men, mutant turtles. You know what I mean?
I do have to say,
Yeah.
unfortunately, when I was a kid, I never really got like the play sets or the vehicles and all that. But I do have to say,
Yeah.
well, I was not a huge fan of the Michael Bay versions,
Mm-hmm.
but the sequel, the second Michael Bay movie that he did, where he brought in Bebop and Rocksteady,
Yes.
the best part of that movie, the part that made the little inner child of me geek out, was the turtle van.
Right.
Having the turtle van in there, throwing out the sewer covers. Oh my god,
Yeah.
that was like the epitome. That was the toy that I always wanted that I just never got.
Well,
Uh, yeah.
you were pulling out your figures. You
Oh
gonna
yeah.
pull out your figures for the people at home?
Well, I mean, I was going to pull them all up, but I can.
You don't
I,
have to. We can
I
talk as you pull. We can talk. I want to go off of what you just said there. Hell yeah.
I,
Where the automobiles with the action figures was always my favorite deal, man. I remember there was like a Batmobile that I loved, the Ghostbuster car I loved,
oh yeah.
the Ninja Turtle wagon. I have the Ninja Turtle wagon up there. I'm gonna go grab the Ninja Turtle wagon since
Yeah.
you're pulling out stuff.
Heck yeah! I mean, I was a big fan, and I got a whole bunch. I mean, I do have to admit, I don't remember all the names. Ooh, I like that. I
Hey,
like that.
You got me breaking, going pulling stuff down. You know what I mean? Look at this. We're gonna do big merch for Kevin's. You know what I mean? But I got the wagon up in here. We got a couple players up in here. Hawkman's boy that he just
Hey,
pulled
hey, hey!
out.
Hold on a second.
Look at
Hey,
that. Hey
yes,
bud, how you
sir.
doing? Long time. We haven't seen you
Hey.
since the assembly line, dude. How you doing over there? They just re-released these dudes from the episode where the aliens come with the skateboards. You know what I mean? They just re-released them in a 3-pack. There are a lot of like newer action. They're releasing all the throwback action from the cartoon. It's good stuff, dude. They just released a Slash action figure that
Yeah.
is the super cool. The price isn't super cool, but the action figure is super duper
Oh,
cool.
actually, it was fun. I did get the
Get out of my face.
the regular one of him, not with all the cool like alien stuff on it. But unfortunately, his ears broke off. I mean, I guess I played a little too rough with him.
You're too rough with them.
Yeah, and of course,
Rough driving.
now thinking about it, if I kept them all in the packages and in mint condition, then I could probably sell them for a hefty fee right about now. But
I picked up
But I mean, heck, being a kid, I mean, you get toys, you play with the toys. I mean,
well,
it's like,
yeah. See, I got these bad Larrys here. These were re-released recently. Well, we should get into the interview after this part. But I got these. They re-released these, which are they're retro.
yeah,
It's the way they came out back in the day. I haven't opened them up because why would you want to do something like that? But they were only like $12 a pop, which was pretty cheap. It was like when they came out, they were like $8-9, which is funny because I wish they were that price nowadays.
Well,
Um,
it's funny, as I was telling Matt before
yeah.
we did the interview. We went. I went to New Bear Comics to get some Christmas presents, and when I was there,
These are cool too. These are super cool too.
but when I was in New Bear Comics, they had like big boxes where they had, like these characters with like multiple heads, multiple weapons
Yeah.
and stuff for like $75 a piece. Now, I mean, if I had a lot of money just to throw around, I have to admit I was tempted to actually pick up some of those, but unfortunately, I don't. In today's economy, I can't justify buying $75 for one of those, even though I was tempted.
Each one of those was $50, and I got another one.
Yeah. Well,
That was
that's
that was
cheaper
one of
than
those
the other ones we're going for.
one of those days as a collector, you're really ashamed of yourself walking out of Walmart with fucking $200 worth of action figures, and you're like, people giving to the eyeball, like,
It's like, hey,
I
yo,
call
grown
an
man,
ambulance with this guy.
yo,
You
grown
gonna drive
man,
a
what
car?
you
Is that
doing
what I'm
with
saying?
those toys?
Yeah. Well, you do what you can when you can. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We should definitely pop into our guest of honor.
Heck yeah.
And guest of honor for Shizzle. We'll talk about a bunch of more of this stuff, and we'll catch you guys after the episode real quick. But without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BoomBastiCAST for the first time. Our pal, your pal, one of the guys that made sure you had a kick-ass childhood, the one, the only, the great, Kevin Eastman. Welcome to the show, Kevin. We thank you for your time. We'll jump right into it real quick.
Cool.
We usually like to start real quickly with like, how somebody came to be and came into it, and where was there a certain comic book or illustrator or storyteller that you kind of really appreciated that sparked that love in you, that interest?
Most definitely. It was, when I first discovered comic books in general, it was really fascinating to me because I grew up in a very small town in Maine. And it was, I think we had a TV that one channel came in good sometimes, so it was a lot of, reading. And so when you discover the visual world of comics, combining words and pictures to tell stories, it was, it was brilliant. It was really, nothing else I wanted to do. In particular, there was an artist named Jack Kirby, which I particularly gravitated to because he was such a not only prolific, but his style was incredibly dynamic and appealing because it was very fast moving, very energetic, and the feeling that he gave you and how he directed and moved the story through was just it just was all that. And so most of my early drawings were all tracings of Jack Kirby drawings, and what I also liked about Jack Kirby was he wasn't known for one particular character. He was always doing, a wide variety of characters and stories, past, present, future, monsters, superheroes, you name it. He was it. So that was really he was it. The king is the king, and that was one of the things that Pete and I bonded over immediately when we first met was our shared love of Jack Kirby.
Did you guys meet like in school, or where'd you guys meet at?
We actually met I was working in Massachusetts in the town of Amherst. There was a college there, and I had a friend that was going to school there, and I had a part-time job at a pizza place not too far between. It's actually right between. It was in Hadley. It was between UMass and Northampton. And on the bus, I found this magazine. It was a locally produced kind of cartoon fanzine kind of thing called Scat, and I saw that it was produced in Northampton, and so I went over to try to sell my work, and they had just about moved on from producing this fanzine, doing other things, but they said, you should really meet this local artist named Peter Laird because he's into the same kind of comic book storytelling that you are. So back in those days, and we're talking 1980, I wrote him a letter, and And he wrote me back, and I said, "Hey, I'm new to the area. You want to hang out sometime?" And he wrote me back and said, "Yeah, come on. I live at this is my address. Come knock on my door." And so yeah, we immediately bonded over Kirby and comics and things, and started working together almost immediately. So we'd visit about once a week and talk, just geek out together, just talk about comics and talk shop and trade drawings and stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, California is kind of the hub of film and stuff like that.
Yep.
Is there a hub for comics? Is there like a city or something that was like known for really pop? Was it California, or was it just that? Yeah.
No, that's a really good question, because
Yeah.
to me it was always East Coast, because I grew up in Maine, met Peter in Massachusetts, and in the early days of becoming aware of comics like or comic companies like DC Comics or Marvel Comics, both of them were located in New York City. They had offices in New York City, and so a lot of the artists that we admired, whether it be Mike Kaluta, Barry Smith, Jeff Jones, Steve Ditko, on and on and on, Will Eisner, all of them had studios in New York City. So to us, that was the hub of of comics that we were aware of at that time. But I do know that years later you had places like San Francisco and Berkeley, where underground comics were really born, and that was a kind of a hub for that. But then it was kind of spread throughout. But a lot of people, it was New York. It was as far as I know, if you wanted a job in comics, you had to go to New York and work for one of the big two. Yeah.
So Ninja Turtles originated in Massachusetts.
Dover, New Hampshire. It was
close enough. I'll take it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it's funny because Peter and I met in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And then I moved back to Maine because that's where my family's from, where I grew up, and I'd had a summer job working along the coast, cooking lobsters for tourists from Memorial Day to Labor Day. And so I moved back there. Peter and I met. I moved back to Maine, and then his wife, future wife at that time, got a job teaching in Dartmouth, next door to Dover. And so he moved to Dover, which from where I was in Maine was about 20 minutes away. So when I finished work that summer, he had a room to rent. So he said, "Well, come down and rent the room, and we'll form a little studio." And Mirage Studios will start working together. And so once we self-published and had success, and could live wherever we wanted to, we both really loved Northampton, Massachusetts. And so we moved back to the Valley. And that was probably 1985, and kind of the corporate, the headquarters from Mirage Studios had been Massachusetts from about 1985 onward to now. So
we self-distribute our own films, and it's like thinking about doing a comic, there's just so much, there's a lot to it, you know what I mean? But back then you guys were innovators in that sense of it as well, I think, which is pretty cool. Much respect.
Well, no, but we were lucky. It's because there had been the evolution and the creation of the direct comic market, which was it was non-returnable. So you'd have these head shops that also sold comics and cigarettes and all kinds of paraphernalia, music, CDs. And so it kind of became this early version of a comic store, which expanded to more specific comic stores. And that was a network that we distributed through. But I love it because I have so many friends. Actually, I did work with a guy on a soundtrack for a movie I made, and him and his brother used to buy music overseas, and they'd travel to Europe, buy all these albums, and bring it here. But then they just would drive them around and distribute them to music shops all around California.
Yeah.
So they ended up becoming their own record label, and because just by accident. But that was the way you did it by then. And even now, whether you use social media or whatever your outreach program, outreach is, it's the exposure, the opportunity to meet people and get the word on the street. And if you have to drive to a theater and show your own movie, then that's the way you do, man. That's great.
Yeah, we do a lot of stuff like that.
It's mom and pop shops, a lot of like films and musical acts, in like the 90s, kind of. I remember when we were coming up, that was like it. That was like how you would break, almost like to independently do it, to show the labels that you were worth investing the time and money into. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, it's total I say gonzo. I'm trying to think of a better word, but it is, it's like anything that needs to break out and set a new benchmark or introduce it, bring a whole new audience, has always been produced independently, whether it be all different kinds of music, including all different kinds of comics or those kinds of things. Is like, when you'd, hear these, anti-establishment bands sort of coming up and doing the bar circuits and the bar scenes and the things to make a name for themselves before they, to build their audience, but they had to do it one gig at a time. And the same for Peter and I. We do back in the early days, we would do lots of signings. If somebody invited us to their comic store, we would arrange and we would drive there with our stuff and sit there and meet the local fans. Sometimes it was 4 people, sometimes it was 11 people, but and it's the same with you guys with your filmmaking. It's you gotta, but these days you're lucky. I think you can start building an audience and reach further and wider, and there's more opportunities to connect with a wider audience base than the old days.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like social media and all that is heavy into it,
Yeah. What are you doing? You guys got a movie in the works right now? What are you working on?
We got we got a feature we're working on trying to get done later in the year, but my buddy just came back. Alex over here just came back acting in Las Vegas. He likes to branch out. And
what were you working in?
There's another independent a group I work with called the Mahal Empire, and they did a film called Alien Storm, which we shot in Las Vegas. It has Tom Arnold and Kevin Sorbo. Those are the notable, benchmark names, and a lot of talented independent actors also in it. It's a lot of fun. It's very much about aliens coming down, and all these wealthy to-do people go down in the bunker and try to survive, and it was a hoot. It was a hoot.
Dude, I dig that stuff so much. It's like going up as a huge fan of all kinds of B movies, anything that Roger Corman did, even the really, schlocky ones. But I just loved the, that you could see the nuts and bolts and the duct tape and the band-aids and the thing that pull it together. I mean, I think it was I read some article once. I think Dennis Hopper did, I think 15 Roger Corman movies before he got one that that he busted out of. And Roger Francis Ford Coppola, I think Dementia 13 was also an original 13, Roger Corman production. But I also did, I love trauma films.
Oh yeah,
Lloyd Kaufman, those guys. It's like, hey man, they're doing it. Look at James Gunn. I think he wrote and maybe had a big hand in directing. No, I think Lloyd Kaufman directed, but it was a Terra Firma and Citizen.
Romeo and Juliet, right?
Oh yeah, Romeo and Juliet, yes.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet, and I met the first time it's about the only time I met James Gunn. He still was making his way in Hollywood, but it was we were at a American Film Market event in Santa Monica, and we were there to honor Lloyd because we love Lloyd. And we both were talking about how much we liked Cannibal the Musical, which was such a funny, the first Trey Parker, Matt Stone film. Cannibal the Musical, bro. So no, I love it. It's like you go when you look at something like Evil Dead, the first Evil Dead. It was taping a camera to a plank and walking it through the that's where you come up with the creative stuff that makes that shit work. And so it's I dig it. It's really exciting.
Like the original comic was very raucous, like very trauma-like in a way. It was very gritty, very dark and stuff. I was always curious. I know the first film was really dark, and then I think they kind of started to lighten up a little bit and get a little more kiddie with it, if you will. But like coming from such an underground, dark kind of thing, what was your thoughts on them? Kind of the commercial, making so commercial. Were you like turned off by that, or just happy that it was being successful?
No, it was well, the best part was that we owned it, we controlled it, we had full say. So when the opportunity was presented to us to do it as a kids property, because it was, as you already said, it was clearly designed as an edgier, older audience type of property.
Yeah.
And we were having enough success with this, and so we said, the only way we will work with you on this is that we have full and final say. So everything the world saw as the Turtles, as the kids, we knew what we were writing it for. It was being written down and repositioned. We still had our original black and white comics in that world, but we knew this series was being done specifically for a much younger audience. So we softened the origin, things like, Pete came up with the idea for the different colored bandanas, which was brilliant, to tell them apart more easily. The humor was increased, but so when we worked it as an animated series and a toy, which then had enough success, which brought us to the movie, one of the best parts, and to me, that's why the first Turtle movie will always be the best Turtle movie, was director Steve Barron, and writer Todd Langdon, and of course, Jim Henson making it all magic, make all the magic happen with the costumes. But Steve loved the original comic series, original black and white series, so he made a movie with a foot in both camps. So he wanted something for the original audience, for the older audience. So that was the moodiness, the darkness, the intensity of the story, but there was the heart and soul of, the family aspect, as well as the humor, that he brought in from the cartoon series. So to me, it was a perfect Turtle movie. And to repeat myself, that's why it'll always be number one of my favorite across the board. And when they got to Turtles movie 2, Peter and I were frustrated because they really pushed it more towards a live action cartoon, as opposed to keeping it balanced. And so that's, but we had as much control as we could have, but some things you can't, unless we're doing it ourselves, we can't control everything. But yeah, what a journey throughout the whole process. So
I mean, I agree. I would probably have to agree that I think the first film is probably my favorite film. It's very dark. It's like the truest to the comic. And it's just very dark, and I like the darkness of it. Not just the theme of it's dark, the lighting's very dark, the outfits are dark, you know what I mean? There's so much darkness to it that I love that. I'd have to give it that. But don't get me wrong, because I really love part 2, The Secret of the Ooze. It's definitely more kiddie, more campy. You got Iceman in there doing it big. You know what I mean? Go Ninja, go. Classic stuff. It's like hard not to. It's hard not to. It's kind of like if you appreciate, it's almost like equated to the Evil Dead franchise. You know what I mean? Where you got Evil Dead's straight up darkness. Evil Dead 2 is a little bit of dark comedy, and then Army of Darkness is straight up comedy, I feel. In the same way, you could almost say Ninja Turtles 1, dark movie, 2, dark comedy, 3, pretty much a comedy that, it's not my favorite in the series. And I like all the film. Like, I enjoy it. There's not a Ninja Turtles movie that I actually don't like, with the exception of like that 4th movie. Everything else is great. The cartoons, I've enjoyed all the cartoons, and I've had nieces and nephews of all ages, and I did say nieces and nephews because everybody loves Ninja Turtles, you know what I mean? But I would probably have to say that my favorite one's probably the first one. Alexander Huck, which one do you get down with?
I will say that number one, one of the things about being the first one, it is a classic. It is epic. It has a lot of great things about it, and I do love that movie. But I do have to say that nostalgically, the second one is my all-time favorite of the series, and because it came out exactly at the right time for me, where it was a perfect brand of the childish humor. And because I was a kid at the time, the young man, the pizza delivery boy, that also gave me kind of a feeling as a young guy being pushed into the world of Ninja Turtles. So he became kind of my surrogate. He was he was me being
Right.
in there. I could envision, putting my person in there because of having that gateway, and I mean I just loved all of the everything was like you say campy, fun. It was enjoyable. I mean, heck, Vanilla Ice with Go Ninja. I mean, I love that. I was singing that song like nonstop after the movie came out too.
Go Ninja, go
My
Ninja, go.
my parents were probably about to kill me. That's how much I was doing that.
You know, our boy Ernie Reyes Jr., who plays the delivery dude, was also in another world famous ninja movie,
Surf Ninjas.
Surf Ninjas.
Okay.
Rob Schneider is also in there.
Oh yeah. I have.
That movie was made by Cocaine. Made that movie, I think. I think that was by the famous director Cocaine.
I think a lot of movies at that time were made by Cocaine. Uh, but yeah, I mean, like I said, and even though I have to admit, like a lot of other people, I was disappointed they created new characters, Toka and Razor, instead of having Rocksteady and Bebop.
If I was ever to kill myself off, I would eat the donuts with the diamonds in them that they ate.
Yeah.
I figure out what that concoction is, and that's what I'm going out hard off those donuts, baby.
Heck yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, part two. Yeah, I mean part two I like a lot. I definitely don't hate on part two for sure. I definitely get down with it. Like I said, for the most part, that fourth one's a little questionable. But three, I don't even got beef with three. I remember.
Yeah, three. I mean, three was enjoyable. A lot of people gave it shit. I do think that some of the uh, I think the suits I think were a little less than the originals, because I think at the third one they were still trying to push them out, but I don't think they were putting enough money into the effects.
Yeah.
But I mean, I enjoyed the story. I mean, putting them in feudal Japan and all that. It it was still fun. It still was a fun Turtles movie, and it's. I mean, anything that any of the movies that came afterwards obviously just didn't really work. But the third one was the last of the good ones.
I would, fourth one was questionable, but then I was that first animated one, TMNT, the
Mm.
first animated one they did maybe in 2009 or so like that.
Okay, yeah.
That was actually pretty solid. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
They made video games for it. The video games, it was around the time Wii came out, because it was one of the only games I owned for Wii. I bought Transformers and I bought the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game.
Hey,
Yeah.
dude, since you brought up video games, I have to do it, man. I have.
Oh, classic, dude,
It's
Ninja
it's a
Turtle video
law.
game.
It's a law. The
Are-
Nintendo Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles game. Oh God,
It's a lot of fun. First one was hard.
it
Second one, part two of the arcade game is fucking
well.
devastating.
I never played the
That
arcade.
one's
I played the one for the console, and that was hard as hell, and I couldn't get.
One where it goes
Yes.
with your
Oh.
sword and stuff.
Oh, the worst was trying to swim through like the
With the
electric
jellyfish.
Yeah,
The
you remember that?
electric stuff. Yeah, I love the game. Very difficult. Part two, the arcade game, way better. There's something about the arcade. They just re-released them. They just re-released all of them in like a Cowabunga edition, and then they did like a newer, updated one that's kind of like the cartoon, which is a really cool one, and it's got that arcade style vibe to it. I love the arcade, dude. Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game, probably one of the most played games in my collection for sure. I loved it, dude. Great. There's none bigger things that I can think of in this world than the Ninja Turtles. You know what I mean? It's just huge. And like every generation will have one. Like you'll never, as long as there's a humanity, there'll be Ninja Turtles. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that-
that'll last forever. I
It
mean,
will, yeah.
yeah, every generation there's going to be a Ninja Turtles from here on out. That
well,
Did you guys get access to like
We-
the sets on the movies when they were making them?
oh yeah, we went down. Yeah, it was like because I sold control of my rights to Peter in 1990, part of them in 1998, and a bit more in early 2000s. But up until that time, every single aspect of the Turtles, whether it be the cartoon shows, the movies, going on set, working with the animators, working with the writers, and all the stuff. So that was one of my favorite parts, was going down on set on for the movies, because that's where it all happened. You get to see, and that's I remember that, I feel like it can easily be summed up, in my opinion, of movie making. The first week I was on set for Turtles movie 1 was that it's amazing any movie comes out good ever,
Yeah.
because I'm watching, from afar, respectfully. It's like, to me as a director, it's as a comic book artist, I'm a director from this chair and this drawing board, and I can control everything. But when
Yeah.
you look at somebody like Steve Barron, and I'm watching this guy work, and he's controlling the lighting and the sound guys and the costume guys and the effects guys and the position of the camera and the coverage shots, and there's 50 people, at least, it seems like probably, less or more, but asking him questions, and just to pull off what needs to be coordinated to get 30 seconds of footage to use in multiple takes of that footage. It was like, holy, crikey. But no, I loved it. I really enjoyed that part of it. And then, years later, I worked on some much smaller films, some trauma stuff, and, Jim Wynorski and Andy Sedaris and different guys that I really liked the independent spirit of small films, because it was really something that you couldn't make otherwise. It had to be done that way to make it work and to get that vision as pure and true, much like Peter and I did by self-producing our own and self-publishing our own Turtles comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see on your Instagram, you always posting up cool goodies of like some throwback toys and stuff like that. Have you ever plucked anything really cool off one of the movie sets that you got on display at home or something like that?
I had man, it's funny, I ended up selling it at auction probably about 10 years ago, but I had, for the first Turtle movie,
Yeah.
Peter and I each were gifted one of the costumes.
Oh,
And we loved it. And there was a few other things. I had like one of the TCRI canisters. I still have it somewhere, and a few other things, but one of the size. But with the costumes, as soon as they were made, they started deteriorating. It just was, it's the latex, because each actor was cast, the foam, the things were built just for them, the wear and tear of them wearing them and doing all that stuff. So even if you put them on a mannequin and then preserve them, say sprayed them with some kind of sealant, the air would still get into them from behind, and they just would rot away. It was just the makeup. But I found this guy, and God, I wish I could remember his name right now. I can't, but it was a guy that specifically restored these kinds of things, based out of Massachusetts. Got a studio for it. But so we had it preserved, and then at that time I ended up selling it to a museum, just so it could be more permanently displayed and enjoyed, and that as opposed to just sitting in the corner of my studio, which I got the memory, so that's enough. But yeah, the prop stuff is great. And I used to love the there was a company, Christie's maybe, that used to always do regular movie prop auction.
yeah.
And I used to get the catalogs. I wouldn't buy anything, but I would always get the catalogs because they had so many. I just like looking at all the props.
Yeah.
It was pretty great.
I remember seeing like a decayed Donatello's head, and it was like it made me, like, my inner child cry. I felt so bad for it. I was like, oh no, it was like seeing an actual decaying body. It was like, oh no.
Totally, yeah. It's like, yeah, exactly.
Those were a little. I remember there was like a neck hole for him to be able to see through, but for the most part, I mean, I assume that had to have been some serious. I know you were talking about on set, like, a lot of takes of just kind of getting all that fighting down. It looks so great, you know, in the overall end product. You know what I mean? But getting there was a lot of work, I'm sure.
Yeah, those the original stuntmen, and that's where the main part of the production company came from, which was Golden Harvest, which was they produced a lot of the Jackie Chan movies, and so a lot of the martial artists, foot soldiers, and a lot of the guys that wore the stunt suits, the fighting suits for the turtles, were actors that did, you know, straight from Hong Kong films, and a lot of them didn't even speak English. But they wore those 80-pound suits, and they were doing those spin kicks and backflips and stuff like that in these suits. And so the minute, you know, until there would be these short takes, so there'd be like, you know, 15, 20 seconds, 30 seconds where bang, 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 bang. And then immediately somebody would run over with a fan, it looks like a blow dryer that blew cool air, and they'd jam it in the turtle's mouth and blow.
Yeah.
Because he's like, but yeah, they said they would lose, you know, 5-6 pounds in water weight every day of shooting. And that was a lot, because these guys were, you know, they weren't big guys, and they were already so well trained and so physically fit. There was not a lot of, you know, anything they could lose. But man, what a you know, these guys were, you know, they made it work. You know, those costumes made it work. Those stunt guys made it work, and yeah, pretty mind blowing.
Yeah.
Go back.
Because in any of I mean, since there was so many toys and accessories created based on the Ninja Turtles, was there anything that was created either from an idea that you had or something that someone else came up that you thought was extremely interesting, or you really liked, or you thought it was a cool idea or something?
Well, I'd say I point to I think one of the things about Turtles movie 1 especially was, for example, you know, this goes kudos to Steve Barron and his attention to detail, was Casey Jones as a character. You know, not only casting, you know, Elias Koteas, who was perfect, but instead of just getting an off-the-shelf hockey mask and distressing it or whatever to fit, he had one built that looked like straight from our comics. That design with the 3 slots and it was right out of our comic. And that was that kind of attention to detail and specific characterization of that character that he brought to life that would always be one of my favorite moments, because it was no, you know, he's the man. And I love that it's one of those things that a toy company called NECA Toys, who does these really brilliant adaptations of the Turtles from the movies and the cartoon show.
Yeah.
They're killer. Yeah, they did a recreation of Splinter's mask.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Casey's mask. So
Casey's
you could
mask.
actually buy the mask, you know, that was designed right from the movie, much like Steve Barron designed it, much like right from the comic. So yeah, that was so that was I would say that was yeah, that was a highlight for me. And yeah.
Was Jason Voorhees an influence on that Casey Jones mask at all?
You know, it was not really, and I don't want to take away, because I'm a fan of those movies, but it was just but to me it was the creation of Casey Jones as a character, because he was a total homespun vigilante style character. But we kind of made fun of him a little bit, at least in the original comic, where he wasn't created out of a series of really painful memories or circumstances, whereas, you know, like Batman, you know, his family was murdered and this, so he became a vigilante.
Yeah.
Casey became a vigilante from watching too much bad TV. In fact, you know, in the first comic, he's got 3 TVs going on at the same time, and there's like A-Team and TJ Hooker and something else on. And but so the pieces of his costume came from found objects, which was, you know, he was a hockey player. And so what we wanted is unique mask, because he had to keep his, you know, as a vigilante, you have to keep your secret identity. So he had sweats and a shirt and a golf bag with a bunch of miscellaneous weapons, from a cricket bat to a hockey stick to baseball bats, golf clubs. So it was more just that came together from cobbling together what somebody like him would find and make his own vigilante costume from.
you know, accessories, bringing up accessories and action figures for me, you know, Bebop and Rocksteady were classic. The turtles are really cool. I remember the turtles where you'd push down on their head. I remember, and their head would pop up and their head would
Yeah.
spin and their shell would open up. You could put weapons in their shell.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a cool thing.
So many cool toys, and it's still going now. Like I said, like I I showed earlier, the van. I love the van. You know what I mean? The Krang had the Krang body was great. I know they just re-released that. They did the Slash re-release now, which I talked about earlier, which is really cool. But yeah, Ninja Turtles is like, if I was rich, I'd have a lot more Ninja Turtle stuff.
Oh, heck yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I showed a whole bunch of the turtle stuff I had. But yeah,
I love Ninja Turtles so much. I love Ninja Turtles so much. When I die, the forms that might come take me away to the next realm could be the Ninja Turtles. You know what I mean? These people that, like, you think about these people that are heroic to you and mean that from a young age, but were your heroes and meant a lot to you. Like the things that your brain would have come back and pull you into the nether void or into the afterlife of good or bad. It would be the Ninja Turtles. It might be the Incredible Hulk will come get Alex Hawk and put him on his shoulders and carry him into.
Mark Ruffalo is going to come and say, "Come with me if you want to live."
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin, you've been very gracious with your time. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure,
We're gigantic fans. We really thank you for your time and what you've created. You know what I mean? Ninja Turtles, my God.
Thank you,
You know what
gentlemen.
I mean?
Well, I appreciate you very much.
We usually ask one question at the end, real quick, if you don't mind.
Nope.
You know, because we have a lot of artists and entertainers that watch the show. We usually like to see if anybody wants to give some like advice or words of wisdom for someone that might have found themselves in a funk, or you know, maybe things were going great, then they weren't going great. You know what I mean? Or just like something. I mean, you're doing it. You did it. It's done. You know, I mean, you know, the legacy's there. It's gigantic. You know, it's beautiful. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
What would you say to anybody out there that's kind of maybe second guessing themselves or maybe going through a hard time with creative stuff?
Well, it's a great question, and I do answer that kind of question a lot, and I have the same answer, and it's kind of like you know, if you want to be a professional athlete, if you want to be a professional writer, or you want to be, you know, comic book artist, or you want to be a filmmaker, you want to do those things. There's a lot of pieces that make up your everyday life, and it's school, work, relationships, just so many things that you have to manage in a day. But if you have the dream and you have the passion, the most important thing is be true to yourself. And it's like, and I always say, you know, if to artists, I said, for me personally, if you, as a musician, if you need to practice, you got to set aside 20 minutes, 30 minutes, like schedule it, and don't let anybody interrupt it. You need that time to create and keep honing your skill and practicing. And the same for drawing or writing. Is like, you have to make that time to do that. And it's tricky. And then, you know, as far as, you know, rejection goes, I was called a geek at a time when it was not a term of endearment like it is now. If I was the guy that sat with two other guys who read comic books in junior high in the lunchroom, and everybody, you know, we were not popular. Let me say it that way. And so people were just like, how can you be, you know, the age you are and still read comics? And it was just so you have to get past those things, because people will try to take that dream away from you constantly and steadily. Life will try to take that dream away from you. The rejection of you know, I you know, probably got hundreds, you know, of rejection letters over the years, but it's you know, it's a growing, and you have to stay true, stay dedicated, work hard at it. and I believe that dream will happen. And it's it ain't easy, and a lot of people don't have, a lot of people have not had it as lucky as I've had it. So I definitely feel very blessed, the path that I was given and the path that I was shown, and the fact that I was drawing this morning, and when I'm done talking with you guys, I'm going to finish some drawings that I need to finish tonight, and that's the greatest gift. I get to do what I dreamed about doing as a kid. But no, don't give up, keep the fight, stay true to yourself, and make that time, because it's we're not here for a long time on this planet, so make the most of it and work hard at it. Don't give up.
True that. True that. Well, thank you again. We'd love to have you on again.
All right, guys. Anytime.
Enjoy your night, and we'll
Thank you.
talk
You as well.
soon. Have a good one.
Great chatting with you guys.
You
Take
too,
care.
sir.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was fun, guys. Thanks.
All right, folks. My goodness. That was a great time. We really thank Kevin for his time spending it with us this evening to kind of talk about some things, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Kevin Eastman related things. That was a lot of fun. There's a 7-year-old Matty Fisher smiling away somewhere, a big smile on his face. It reminds me, we were talking about action figures earlier in the show. I just wanted to say the Foot Clan too. The Foot Clan action figure was always super cool. It had a good look to it. And if you asked the 7 or 8-year-old Matty Fisher what he wanted to be when he grow up, he'd be filling out those applications to be a Foot Clan member for sure. And not to smoke cigarettes, because I don't get down.
Hey, yeah. you know who was the best Foot Clan member, right?
Yeah, I know. The guy who sells cigarettes, Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell. I do have to say, it's funny because I became a fan of Sam Rockwell, when he was older, and through Galaxy Quest and Charlie's Angels, and those were really when I really connected with him, and I love all the stuff he does now. But I remember looking through his IMDb, just checking out, see what's coming up, what he's involved in. And I saw that he was in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I was like, he was? And then, I watched it again, and it came to that scene. I was like, shit, that's a little Sammy Rockwell.
That's one of those little fun movie facts people would always tell me. You like Ninja Turtles? Well, that Sam Rockwell's in that, right? I think Mike Calvin hit me to that first. Shout out Mike Calvin. I know he's a big Ninja Turtle fan. So if Mike Calvin, you're listening out there, this one's for you, Bubba. This one's for you.
And as we said, talking to Kevin Eastman, that he helped create a legacy, a bunch of great characters, great stories that will probably last forever and keep on being reinvented, bringing in for different generations, and it's just so much fun.
I think at Rhode Island Comic-Con, I think is where I met him all the times. Maybe he was at Super Mega Fest once or twice. I've shooken his hand.
He was at Super Mega Fest at least once. I remember that.
Yeah, I know I've met him 2 or 3 times, because every time I do, I get something signed.
Yeah,
I'm a big guy like that, a big fan.
But yeah, and as you see, he's a great guy. He enjoyed and loved what he and his partner created, and it has an everlasting legacy, which has found its way in the hearts of many young men and women who love him today.
Forever, dude.
Right.
Forever. That's the craziest thing about the Ninja Turtles, is like that will never, and we don't want it to go away, but Ninja Turtles will never, there will never be a time the Ninja Turtles aren't cool. When everybody that was on this episode tonight, myself and Hawk included, are taking the long dirt naps, there'll be people loving the Ninja Turtles in new form. There'll be the new Ninja Turtles that people are loving because it's just there's nothing that's so great. Like it's over the. It'll always be there. You know what I mean? It'll always be there. It's the four of them, four different personalities. You have the action. You know what I mean? You have morals in it. You know what I mean? It'll always be there, which is good. And I stand by my statement. As long as there's a humanity, there'll be a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up this episode?
No, not really. Just that it was a lot of fun talking to him, and it's always great when you know, when something that's in his case that he helped create,
Yeah,
has such a lasting effect.
right.
And I mean, as creators, that's what we want to do. I mean, we want to leave an impact, whether it makes you think about something or just, a little smile when you think about the art that we help create. And
Yeah,
he was able to create something that, you know, as we said, that people will be talking about years from now. I mean, years after Matt and I and even Kevin have passed away, I'm sure there's going to be another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon or movie or maybe even comic book that'll
the
be
only
running
thing that's
around.
popular as Ninja Turtles is DJ Stan the Man, and that's a good thing. And I can tell you one thing: DJ Stan the Man is sleeping in Kevin's house tonight, and that's a fantastic thing. So, with that being said, I know I like where you're going with that, Hawk. You're a good man. Don't let anybody ever tell you different. Much love for you. You're great. You're one of the greatest there ever was.
Love you too.
And love you, man. If you guys loved this episode, go listen to more episodes of the BoomBastiCAST. If you love supporting, we love when you support. We got the Patreon page. We got 3 different tiers, and there's a couple more tiers coming for interesting new endeavors. We're gonna try some new perk type cool because we're always trying to bring some cool stuff to it. These podcasts will always be there for the free zone for you, but for anybody who wants to get more interactive with watching the full uncut videos or getting early access, advanced stuff, Patreon could be the home for you. So check into it at Boombastic Streaming. 2 O's, Boombastic Streaming on Patreon, and see if that shoe fits you. And with that being said, this show is a proud member of the Boombastic Media Network. You know, a lot of great shows rolling out. I think we had 2 or 3 new shows pop out through the network already this year. It's the beginning of March, and a lot of good stuff coming. So definitely tune into that because I think there's a little bit of something for everybody, which is what we kind of strive for in the Boombastic world. But with that being said, have a good night. We'll catch y'all later on the next episode of the BoomBastic Cast.
Peace.
Heroes in a Half Shell.
Turtle power.